are the 100 mental models? Mental models and their use in thinking better, so they are worth learning more about. What is a mental model? Mental models are an explanation of how things work. They are how we decide what variables matter in a given situation and how those variables interact with one another. Mental models are how we make sense of the world. The two types of mental models: the multidisciplinary models. These are the ones that allow you to predict the future and understand the past. There are also mental ones, like confirmation bias, which help you avoid stupidity. What are the most useful ones? 1. Inversion, known as thinking through a situation in reverse or thinking backwards. Inversion is a problem-solving technique. By considering what we want to avoid rather than what we want to get, we come up with better solutions. Inversion works not just in mathematics but in nearly every area of life. As the saying goes, just tell me where I'm going to die so I can never go there. 2. Falsification/confirmation bias. What a man wishes, he also believes. Similarly, what we believe is what we choose to see. This is commonly referred to as the confirmation bias. It is a deeply ingrained mental habit to look for confirmations of long-held wisdom rather than violations. Yet the scientific process is designed to root out precisely the opposite, which is why it works so well when followed. The modern scientific enterprise operates under the principle of falsification. A method is termed scientific if it can be stated in such a way that a certain defined result would cause it to be proven false. Pseudo-knowledge and pseudoscience operate and propagate by being infalsifiable. As with astrology, we are unable to prove them either correct or incorrect because the conditions under which they would be shown false are never stated. 3. Circle of competence. An idea whereas each individual tends to have an area or areas in which they really, truly know their stuff. Their area of special competence. Areas not inside that circle are problematic because not only are we ignorant about them, but we may also be ignorant of our own ignorance. Thus, when we're making decisions, it becomes important to define and attend to our special circle, so as to act accordingly. 4. Occam's razor. Named after the Friar William of Ockham, Occam's razor is a heuristic by which we select among competing explanations. Occam stated that we should prefer the simplest explanation with the least moving parts. It is easier to falsify, easier to understand, and more likely, on average, to be correct. This principle is not an iron law but a tendency and a mindset. If all else is equal, it's more likely that the simple solution suffices. Of course, we also keep in mind Einstein's famous idea that an idea should be made as simple as possible, but no simpler. 5. Hanlon's razor. Hanlon's razor states that we should not attribute to malice that which is more easily explained by stupidity. In a complex world, this principle helps us avoid extreme paranoia and ideology, often very hard to escape from, by not generally assuming that bad results are the fault of a bad actor, although they can be, more likely, a mistake has been made. 6. Second-order thinking. In all human systems and most complex systems, the second layer of effects often dwarfs the first layer, yet often goes unconsidered. In other words, we must consider that effects have effects. Second-order thinking is best illustrated by the idea of standing on your tiptoes at a parade. Once one person does it, everyone will do it in order to see, thus negating the first tiptoer. Now, however, the whole parade audience suffers on their toes rather than standing firmly on their whole feet. 7. The map is not the territory. The map of reality is not reality itself. If any map were to represent its actual territory with perfect fidelity, it would be the size of the territory itself. Thus, no need for a map. This model tells us that there will always be an imperfect relationship between reality and the models we use to represent and understand it. This imperfection is a necessity in order to simplify. It is all we can do to accept this and act accordingly. 8. Thought experiments. The thought experiment is a way to logically carry out a test in one's own head that would be very difficult or impossible to perform in real life. With a thought experiment, we can solve problems with intuition and logic that could not be demonstrated physically. 9. First principles thinking. First principles thinking is one of the best ways to reverse engineer complicated problems and unleash creative possibility. sometimes called reasoning from first principles. The idea is to break down complicated problems into basic elements and then reassemble them from the ground up. It's one of the best ways to learn to think for yourself and move from linear to nonlinear results. Furthermore, I like to find all of my commercial real estate leads at www.cremls.com.